Deciphering the complete philosophy of Pythagoras, the forbidden teachings that changed reality forever. What if I told you that one man discovered a secret so powerful that his followers believed it could unlock the structure of reality itself? A man whose teachings were so mysterious that people swore oaths of silence under penalty of death. A man who believed numbers were alive, that music could heal the soul, that your thoughts shaped your destiny, that the universe itself moved according to hidden mathematical harmony, and perhaps most disturbing of all, he believed human beings were trapped in a cycle of spiritual imprisonment, endlessly reincarnating until they awakened. His name was Pythagoras. Most people only know him because of a triangle formula from school, but that is like remembering Leonardo da Vinci for Mona Lisa only. The real Pythagoras was something far stranger, a mystic, a mathematician, a spiritual revolutionary, a philosopher who created one of the most secretive brotherhoods in human history. And tonight, we are going to decipher the complete philosophy of Pythagoras. Not the watered-down version, not the school textbook version, but the hidden teachings, the metaphysics, the psychology, the spiritual discipline, the cosmic laws, and the terrifying truths behind one of the greatest minds to ever live. Because once you understand Pythagoras, you begin to understand why ancient civilizations believed mathematics was the language of God. And by the end of this video, you may never see reality the same way again. Welcome to Stoic Gateway. If you're ready to awaken your mind, subscribe now and comment below. Everything is number, because that single sentence contains the entire universe. Before Pythagoras became a legend, he was a seeker. Born around 570 BC on the Greek island of Samos, Pythagoras entered a world obsessed with power, war, politics, and mythology. But unlike most men of his time, Pythagoras was not interested in conquering kingdoms. He wanted to conquer ignorance itself. From an early age, he became obsessed with one question. What is the hidden order behind existence? Not religion, not politics, not wealth. Order. The invisible architecture behind reality. And so he began a journey unlike any philosopher before him. He traveled across Egypt, Babylon, and possibly even India. For decades, he studied with priests, mystics, mathematicians, and spiritual initiates. He learned sacred geometry from Egyptian temples, astronomy from Babylonian sages, meditative silence from Eastern traditions. And slowly, Pythagoras came to a shocking conclusion. The universe is not chaos. It is harmony. Everything moves according to mathematical principles. The stars, the seasons, music, nature, human consciousness, even the soul itself. To Pythagoras, reality was not random. Reality was structured, measured, alive with hidden intelligence. And once he understood this, he returned to Greece with teachings so radical that they would transform philosophy forever. This was the core of Pythagorean philosophy. All is number, not metaphorically. Literally, Pythagoras believed numbers were the foundation of existence itself. To modern minds, numbers are just symbols. But to Pythagoras, numbers possessed spiritual power. They were living principles governing reality. The number 1 represented unity, the source, the origin of all things. 2 represented duality, conflict, masculine and feminine, light and darkness, order and chaos. 3 symbolized harmony, creation, balance between opposites. 4 represented stability and structure, and together, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equaled 10. The sacred number, the perfect number, the number of cosmic completion. This symbol became known as the tetractys, and Pythagoreans treated it almost like a divine object. They swore sacred oaths upon it. Why? Because they believed the tetractys contained the blueprint of existence itself. Think about this carefully. Long before modern physics, long before computer code, long before algorithms, Pythagoras proposed that reality operates according to mathematical laws. And today, modern science quietly confirms this. Physics is mathematics. Music is mathematics. Astronomy is mathematics. Engineering is mathematics. Even your smartphone operates entirely through numerical systems. Pythagoras saw this over 2,500 years ago. He believed numbers were not invented. They were discovered because numbers existed before humanity, before civilization, before language. Numbers were eternal truths embedded into the universe itself. And this belief changed everything. Because if reality follows mathematical harmony, then chaos is an illusion. Meaning exists. Purpose exists. Order exists. And human beings can align themselves with it. That was the mission of Pythagorean philosophy. Not just knowledge. Alignment. One day, according to legend, Pythagoras walked past a blacksmith shop, and something strange happened. He noticed that different hammers produced different sounds. Some combinations sounded harmonious, others sounded dissonant. Most people would ignore this. Pythagoras became obsessed. He investigated the ratios between musical tones, and he discovered something revolutionary. Harmony follows mathematical proportions. Music could be measured numerically. This discovery shattered the ancient world. Because suddenly music was no longer just art, it was mathematics made audible. But Pythagoras went even further. He believed the entire universe operated through musical harmony. The planets themselves moved according to divine ratios. The stars produced cosmic vibrations. Existence itself was a symphony. This became known as the music of the spheres. Imagine how radical this idea was. Pythagoras claimed the cosmos was not dead matter, floating randomly through space. It was alive with rhythm and proportion. And human beings suffered because they were spiritually out of tune with this cosmic harmony. Think about modern life. Stress, anxiety, mental chaos, constant distraction. What if suffering comes from inner disharmony? Pythagoras believed the soul could be healed through balance, through rhythm, through discipline, through alignment with universal order. This is why music played a central role in his teachings. Pythagoreans used music therapeutically. Different melodies were believed to purify emotions, calm anger, reduce fear, restore mental clarity. In many ways, Pythagoras anticipated modern psychology thousands of years before it existed, because he understood something most people still ignore. Human beings are vibrational creatures. Your environment affects your consciousness. The sounds you consume affect your emotions. The energy around you shapes your mind. And if your inner world becomes chaotic, your life becomes chaotic. Pythagoras taught that harmony must first exist within. Only then can it appear externally. Now we enter the deepest part of Pythagorean philosophy, the soul. Pythagoras did not believe human beings were merely physical creatures. He believed the body was temporary, but the soul was eternal, and according to his teachings, the soul undergoes reincarnation, again and again, life after life, until it achieves purification. This doctrine shocked ancient Greece, because Pythagoras claimed death was not the end. It was transition, a continuation of spiritual evolution. He believed most humans live unconsciously, driven by desire, greed, fear, pleasure, ego. And because of this, they remain trapped in cycles of suffering. Sound familiar? Even today, people repeat the same destructive patterns endlessly. Same toxic relationships, same fears, same addictions, same emotional prisons. Pythagoras believed true philosophy existed to liberate the soul from this unconscious cycle. Not through belief, through transformation. This is why his school functioned almost like a spiritual monastery. Members followed strict disciplines, dietary rules, meditation, silence, self-control, mathematical study, moral purification. Because Pythagoras believed the soul becomes what it repeatedly practices. And this idea is terrifyingly relevant today. Modern society trains distraction, impulse, consumption, stimulation, addiction. But Pythagoras taught that mastery of the self was the gateway to freedom. Without self-mastery, you remain enslaved internally, no matter how successful you appear externally. This is why he valued silence so deeply. New initiates in his school reportedly remained silent for years before speaking publicly. Why? Because most humans speak without understanding, react without thinking, consume without awareness. Silence forces confrontation with the self, and most people fear that confrontation, because in silence, you meet your real mind. Pythagoras eventually founded a secretive community in Croton, southern Italy. But this was not a normal school. It was part academy, part spiritual order, part philosophical society, and its members lived according to strict principles. Communal living, discipline, study, moral purity, mathematics, meditation, vegetarianism. Yes, Pythagoras strongly promoted vegetarianism because he believed all life was interconnected. If souls reincarnated, then harming living beings became spiritually significant. This belief was revolutionary for the ancient world. Pythagoreans sought purification not only intellectually, but ethically. Every action affected the soul. Every habit shaped consciousness. Every thought altered inner harmony. And perhaps the most fascinating part of the Brotherhood was secrecy. Certain teachings were hidden from outsiders. Why? Because Pythagoras believed powerful truths could be dangerous in the wrong hands. Knowledge without discipline becomes destructive. Look at modern society. We have immense technological knowledge. But emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, humanity is still chaotic. Pythagoras understood that wisdom without inner transformation creates imbalance, and so his school trained both intellect and character. This combination made the Pythagoreans incredibly influential, but also feared. Eventually, political enemies viewed the brotherhood as dangerous. Their communities were attacked. Many followers were killed, and much of Pythagoras' original teachings disappeared into history. But fragments survived, and those fragments would shape Western civilization forever. Here is where Pythagoras becomes truly modern. Because his philosophy was not passive. It was transformational. He believed humans could evolve consciously, not biologically, spiritually and mentally. He taught that the average person lives trapped inside lower impulses. Fear, lust, greed, emotional instability, distraction. But through discipline, the soul could ascend. Notice how similar this sounds to Stoicism, to Buddhism, to modern psychology, to self-development philosophy. Pythagoras combined all of these concepts thousands of years earlier. His method involved three forms of transformation: mental transformation, moral transformation, spiritual transformation. Mental transformation came through study and contemplation. Moral transformation came through ethical living. Spiritual transformation came through purification and harmony. And this process required sacrifice, because transformation always requires sacrifice. You cannot evolve while remaining addicted to comfort. Pythagoras knew this. That is why his teachings demanded discipline, wakefulness, self-observation, intentional living. He believed most humans sleepwalk through existence. And honestly, look around. People are controlled by algorithms, social approval, consumerism, dopamine addiction, fear of loneliness, fear of silence, fear of truth. Pythagoras would say, modern humanity has become spiritually fragmented, disconnected from harmony, disconnected from purpose, disconnected from the soul. And perhaps that is why anxiety has become epidemic, because humans were not designed for constant chaos. They were designed for meaning. Pythagoras saw geometry as sacred, not because shapes were aesthetically pleasing, but because geometry revealed divine order. Triangles, circles, ratios, patterns, all reflected cosmic intelligence. To the Pythagoreans, geometry was spiritual revelation. And nowhere is this more famous than the theorem everyone learns in school, the Pythagorean theorem. But here is what schools never explain. For Pythagoras, mathematics was not merely practical. It was mystical. A triangle represented harmony between dimensions, a symbol of hidden balance. This perspective transformed mathematics from calculation into philosophy, into spirituality, into a path toward truth. And this idea deeply influenced Plato, which influenced Christianity, which influenced Islamic philosophy, which influenced Renaissance science. Meaning, Pythagoras indirectly shaped the intellectual foundation of the modern world. Yet today, most people remember him only as a math equation. That is like reducing Shakespeare to grammar rules. The real Pythagoras was attempting to decode existence itself. Pythagoras believed the greatest battle was internal, not external. Most humans think enemies exist outside themselves. But according to Pythagorean philosophy, the true enemy is disorder within, uncontrolled desire, emotional instability, ignorance, impulsiveness, self-deception. These forces destroy lives silently, and because people fail to master themselves, they seek control over others instead. Power, validation, status, attention. Pythagoras taught that true power begins with inner order. A disciplined soul becomes unshakable. A chaotic soul becomes enslaved. And perhaps this is why modern society feels spiritually exhausted. Because people are overstimulated, but underdeveloped. Constant entertainment, no reflection. Constant noise, no silence. Constant consumption, no wisdom. Pythagoras would likely say, humanity has mastered external technology, while neglecting internal mastery. And that imbalance creates suffering. This part is uncomfortable. Pythagoras believed wisdom should not be given carelessly, because truth changes people, and unprepared minds often misuse power. So he divided teachings into levels. Outer teachings for the public, inner teachings for initiates. This created an esoteric tradition, hidden knowledge reserved for the disciplined. Today, this sounds elitist. But consider reality. Most people do not want truth. They want comfort. They want distraction. Transformation is painful. Real self-awareness destroys illusions, and illusions are addictive. Pythagoras knew this. That is why his path required preparation, discipline before knowledge, character before power, because knowledge amplifies the person who holds it. If you are wise, knowledge creates wisdom. If you are corrupt, knowledge creates destruction. Modern society proves this daily. Technology advances faster than morality, and humanity suffers because of it. So what did Pythagoras actually want human beings to become? A harmonious soul. That was the goal. Not fame, not wealth, not dominance. Harmony. A human aligned mentally, morally, spiritually, and cosmically. He believed this required self-discipline, mathematical understanding, ethical living, meditation, silence, moderation, self-reflection, and conscious awareness. He taught that life itself was a form of initiation. Every challenge revealed character. Every temptation tested the soul. Every action shaped destiny. This philosophy was not about escaping reality. It was about mastering it, mastering the self, mastering perception, mastering consciousness. And this is why Pythagoras remains relevant. Because despite all modern advancement, human nature has barely changed. People still struggle with fear, meaninglessness, addiction, emotional chaos, identity, purpose. The external world evolved. The internal battle remained the same. But now, we must confront something important. Not all aspects of Pythagorean philosophy were perfect. The brotherhood became highly rigid, secretive, almost cult-like at times. Some followers treated Pythagoras as semi-divine, and extreme devotion can become dangerous. This is an important lesson. Even wisdom can become corrupted through fanaticism. No philosophy should replace independent thinking. Pythagoras sought harmony, but some followers turned teachings into dogma. This happens throughout history. Religions, ideologies, political systems. Humans often transform wisdom into rigid belief structures. And once belief becomes identity, questioning becomes threatening. So while Pythagoras offered extraordinary insights, we must also learn critically. Wisdom requires balance, not blind worship. Pythagoras believed human beings are capable of becoming divine-like through inner purification. Not gods in the literal sense, but awakened beings. Conscious beings. Aligned beings. He believed the soul's purpose was ascent, to rise above ignorance, above animal impulses, above unconscious living, and through wisdom, to return to cosmic harmony. This was the ultimate goal. Not success, not pleasure, not material accumulation. Transcendence, inner awakening. A state where the human being becomes aligned with universal order itself. And maybe that is why Pythagoras still fascinates humanity after 2,500 years. Because beneath the mathematics, beneath the mystery, beneath the legends, his philosophy addresses the deepest human hunger, the desire to understand why we exist. Pythagoras looked at the universe and saw harmony. Modern humanity looks at the universe and often sees chaos. Maybe that is why people feel lost, disconnected, spiritually empty, because we inherited technology, but forgot wisdom. We learned how to build machines, but forgot how to build ourselves. Pythagoras warned that a life without inner order leads to suffering. And today, that warning feels more relevant than ever. Maybe the answer was never more stimulation, more noise, more distraction. Maybe the answer was harmony, silence, discipline, awareness. And perhaps the greatest lesson Pythagoras gave humanity is this: the universe already contains order. The question is whether you are aligned with it. If this video changed the way you see reality, subscribe now to join this journey into philosophy, psychology, ancient wisdom, and human transformation. And comment below. Harmony begins within. I want to know, which teaching of Pythagoras impacted you the most? The power of numbers? The immortal soul? The music of the cosmos? Or the idea that inner discipline creates freedom? Your comment may inspire someone else awakening tonight. And if you want a free transformational guide designed to help you master your mind, discipline your life, and begin your own journey of inner transformation, email transformationtothestoicpath33@gmail.com. And remember, the greatest mystery was never the universe. The greatest mystery was always the human soul. From the School of Athens, we go deeper into philosophy, psychology, Stoicism, spirituality, and more. See you in the next video.